Okay, so simple compound interest. The best part about this is that it is going to give you a formula, and this is on your star chart, so you're not going to have to memorize this. You will most likely see this on a test or on your star, but not this one. If you do see anything about financial, it will usually be simple, and you'll understand why once we get to compound. So, interest is the price you pay or to borrow money or the cost you charge to lend it. It is most often reflected as a percentage. So you could get money on, or you're going to pay extra on top of a loan that you take out. Also, simple interest earns money on the principal only or the initial original amount of the money over time. You can also earn interest on like savings accounts. So let's find out what all of these represent. So I is going to be, you could probably guess, this is going to be your interest. That's what this is representing. Okay. And then we have P, which P is your principal. And your principal is just the starting amount. So if I'm opening an account and I put $500 in there, that would be my principal amount. If I buy a car, the car was $37,000. That was the principal amount before they added all the extra stuff on there. Next is R. R is going to be your rate. And this is rate as a decimal because your rate will be a percent. Your rate is going to be a percent, but when you're doing this, you've got to make sure you turn it into a decimal. And we did talk about this the other day. And then the last thing down here is your time in years. Okay, so time in years. If they give you months, we got to calculate how many years that is. So let's come down here and do this first problem. David made $500 deposit into a savings account. If the account has an 8% simple interest rate, what would be the value of the account after 10 years? And how much interest would he earn after 10 years? So we're looking for two answers here. We don't know what I is, but we can figure out what all the other ones are. So your principal is going to be this original amount that he deposited. So your $500 is your principal. Then I have a rate. I have a rate of 8%. And remember, it says right up here, rate as a decimal. So what does that look like? Well, y'all told me the other day when we were doing this that you move it 2 places to the left, the decimal. So as a percent, my rate is 0.08. And then my time is going to be 10 years. You know, I really have to write 3 years, but we're going to do that. So then we're going to take all this information and we're just going to multiply it. Well, if I multiply 500 times 10, I'm going to get 5,000. Okay? Then I'm going to take 5,000 and I'm going to multiply it by 0.08. There's 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So $400. That is my interest. I have interest of $400. Interest of $400. Okay? But they also want to know the total. So remember, total means add. So I'm going to take this number, this interest, and add it back to my principal. So I had a principal of 500. I have an interest of 400. If I add these together, I'm going to get a total of $900. Okay? Next one, Deontay is taking a 72-month loan for a $7,500 to buy his first car. The loan has a 5% interest rate. How much will Deontay pay in total? Well, they don't tell us our interest, so we're going to have to calculate that. They do tell us how much the loan was for. Before everything, his principal amount was $7,500. The rate, which is this 5% as a decimal. So remember, 0.05 because I moved that decimal place 2 places. So 0.05 for your rate. And then it's time in years. Well, they don't give us years here. They do give us months. Now remember, there are 12 months in a year. So if I was to divide 12 into 72, how many times is that going to go? 6. So this is a 6-year note. let's solve for our percent. So I'm going to start with 75 and 6 just because there's no decimal. 0, 0, 30, 45. Okay. Then I'm going to take that 45,000 and multiply it by 0.05. 22. And then I have 2 decimal places, 1, 2. So the interest on this loan is going to be $22.50. Okay, that's my interest. I'm going to write it down here again too, because that's what it shows. But they want to know what the total value is. So we're going to do just like we did over here on the first one and go back to my 7,500. And I'm going to add 22.50 to that. And I will get $9,750. Okay. Now remember, if you don't understand this, you have any questions, make sure you make a note so you can ask me on Monday to clarify anything. Or you could ask Mr. Winger when you go to his class, those of you that are not in first period. And then 7th period can ask Coach Walker. So there are some options around there. Angelina takes a 3% simple interest loan for 8 years to buy a bus and convert it into a tiny home. If she paid $7,200 in interest, what was the principal? So this is like I equals PRT. Okay, this is the formula. Let's fill in what we do know. Well, they tell me that my interest was $7,200. That's how much she paid for the interest. They're asking us to solve for P. We are solving for P, the amount of the principal, okay? So I don't know this one. I do have a 3% interest rate, which if I move my decimal 2 places, I will get a 0.03 as a decimal. And it says 8 years, so my time is 8. This is X because I don't know. So we're going to solve for X. We're going to do it just like we would if this was a multi-step word problem or multi-step equation, okay? So we're going to start here with these two because they're here in my formula already. So 8 and 0.03, I'm going to multiply that. So it's 0.24. So if I write all this out, I'm going to have 7,200, because that's my I, equals P 2.4. I have to solve for this. Now, if you remember, let's pretend this is X. And here, I'll even rewrite this to be in a form that y'all like better. So I'm going to do 2.4 times P. I'm solving for P. Step 1. This is a one-step equation at this point. So all I'm going to do, this is multiplication, so we're going to divide it. 2.4. So 2.4 will go into 7,200. There's a decimal on the outside. What do? You move it until you get a whole number. What you do on the outside, you also have to do inside, and y'all are really good about this, remembering this. So 24, I got 24 times 2 is 48, times 3 is going to be 60. No, 72. So this is 3. 0, 0, 0. So what was my principal amount? $3,000. Okay. Laura is saving for college. She earned $450 in interest on her initial deposit of $1,000 on a 60-month investment. What was her simple interest rate? So this time we're solving for interest rate again, so let's plug in what we know. She earned, or her original deposit right here, initial deposit right here, is $1,000. Okay? They don't want to know what interest is. That's my bad. They want to know what the rate is. So this time we're solving for our percent. They want to know what the percent is. So this one we can do we can still work it the same as we did this one, but we could also do something else. So we don't know what that is. We do know that the interest on this was 450. Okay. Remember, I equals PRT. We don't know what the rate is. We do know the time was a 60-month investment. But we have to have this in years. So if I was to divide 60 by 12, I'm going to get 5. So 5 years. What is R? That's my X. So let's just plug in what we know. We know that there's an interest of 450. My P is 1,000 times X times 5. Combine like terms. I have these two. I can combine them. 100 times 5 is 500. So now I have 450 equals 500X. How do I solve for X? Divide. Divide. I'm going to get rid of some zeros here. So 50 into 45.0. I'm going to erase this and get it out of my way here. It won't go into all of this, but it will go 9 times, so 0.9. I need to turn. Now remember, when you're turning if you go back over here and you see this percent right here, we turned it into a decimal by moving it 2 places to the left. Well, when you have a decimal and you need to turn it into a percent, you'd go the opposite way. So I have 0.9. I'm going to go the opposite route. So what is my rate on this? 90%. That was the rate for that one. Okay, let's go to the next page. Turn it over. There's compound interest. Okay. Compound interest earns interest on the principal and any previously earned interest. So a while ago, we were only earning money on the initial. This one, you can earn interest on top of interest. So the interest is added back to the principal so that you can think of it as an interest building on interest. Because of this, it grows more quickly, not grown. It grows more quickly than a simple interest. Okay, so here's another formula they gave us right here. A equals P times 1 plus R to the T. Okay, A is new. This is our new one. All of this over here is the same as what we have. Well, A equals, A is your total with interest. So this time you're not going to solve for interest by using this formula. You have to do an extra step, which we'll get to it. If you see down here, it says a compound interest formula finds the total value. That's this. That's the total value. That's what that is. To find the interest earned, you have to subtract the principal from the total amount. So to find the interest, you would just take these two numbers and subtract them to get interest. And we'll do some practice so you can understand that. So everything else is still the same. P is still your principal. Okay. Rate is still percent as a decimal. Still rate. Okay. And then the last one is still time in years. Okay. Okay, let's look at this first one. $2,000 borrowed at a 4% compound interest rate for 2 years. So they originally borrowed $200 or $2,000. Okay, so that's going to be my principal because that's what I originally borrowed. The rate at which I borrowed it was 4%. I got to turn that into a decimal. Move that 2 places, 0.04. And then the compound interest rate is 2 years, so this is 2. What is this one? They want to know what your interest is and what your total. This little thing right here we're fixing to do. Here, let's change this. This is going to give me this. This is my A. Okay, this is my A value. So let's plug all this into this formula where you have here. So A equals, I'm just going to rewrite it so that if I move this, I have it. R to the T. Okay, so let's plug this in. 2,000, or A equals 2,000 times 1 plus 0.04 to the second. Now, PEMDAS tells us we have to do this first, so let's do that. A is going to equal 2,000 times 1.04, because 1 plus 0.04 is 1.04, to the second power. PEMDAS, parentheses exponent, there it is, we need to do this. So 1.04 times 1.04. One, two, three, four. So this is going to be A equals 2,000 times 0.4576. You could round this to 50. We're going to leave it like that for right now. Actually, you know what? Let's round it. Let's round it to 0.5. Here. Let's just erase that and stick in 0.5. Oh, sorry. Okay, last step. 2,000 times 0.5 is going to be 1,000. Okay, so that is going to be my total value. That's the total. That's what all of it is. Well, I don't know how that's total value. Oh, yeah, that's right. Total value. This is going to be my interest, because to find your interest, it is your total value minus your principal. I think something's wrong here. 10. Oh, it's 100. No. Oh, I missed a whole step. I wish I was there. Liam would have caught it. Okay, let me back up here. Sorry, y'all. Back up. I know y'all are probably cursing my name right now. Oh, Miss Edwards, I can't believe you did that. I'm only human, guys. 614,000,401. 401. Okay. 61801. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, 2,000 times 1.08. We're just going to cut these two numbers off. So, let me move this up. 2,000 times 1.08. Plus 0.000612. And there's 2. So the total value is 2,160. Sorry about that. So the interest is going to be, let me erase that. The interest, to find that, you look right here. Right there, it tells me my total of 2,160 minus my principal of 2,000. So my interest is $160. That was kind of messy. Hopefully I can do better on the next one. Okay, Tori is buying a new $500 microphone for her YouTube channel. She takes out a 24-month loan with an annual compound interest rate of 3% to pay the microphone. How much will she pay total? So this time we are just going to use this formula. We're not having to worry about the we're not having to worry about finding the interest, because it wants to know what the total is. And that's what A represents. A represents the total. So $500 is my principal. So let's just plug stuff in. So 500 is equals A. 500. It's a 24-month loan. So that's going to be my T. We'll do that in just a second. Let's talk about our rate. This is 1 plus, and remember our rate is going to be as a decimal, so plus 0.3. And 24 months, the time is in years, so 24 months is 2 years. Okay, PEMDAS, 500 times 1.03, because I added these two to the second. Next is 1.03 times 1.03, because I have to do the exponent now. 0.3003001 plus 90601. There's 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so now I'm at 500 times, and we're going to just cut it here, times 1.06. Let's do 1.61 because of that. We'll do that. No, let's just do 6. I don't want to do 6.1. Okay, so 500 times 1.06. I'm going to move this up a little bit. Sorry, y'all. Times 0.030. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 5. So 0.0035, and there's 2 decimal places. So the total is $530. I think the compound interest one is usually the one that gets us more. This one you may struggle with a little bit more just because of the little exponent right there. And with me not being there to guide you through it, it kind of makes it harder. That's okay. You can ask me questions on Monday, and then Tuesday we're going to do review stuff because you're supposed to take a quiz on Wednesday. I may push it to Thursday because we start review on Friday. We'll see. Adam is saving for retirement. He deposits $10,000 into an account for 25 years. If the account has a 2% interest or 2% annual compound interest, how much interest does he pay? So we have to do 2 things here because they want to know what the interest is, and this formula we use gives us the total. So A equals P times 1 plus R to the T. Let's plug everything in. He deposited this. This is going to be your principal. So A equals 10,000. Okay. He has a interest rate of 2. So that's going to be written as 0.02 to the 25 years. This one is a lot just because of that 25. We're not going to go that far because it just makes it a lot. So we're going to talk about just what it would be for 2 years and go from there. Because when you don't have a calculator, calculating what it is going to be for 25 years just makes it really hard. So I have 10,000 times 1 plus, oh, sorry. 1.02 to the 25. Because this is 1.02 times 1.02 on and on until you get to 25. We're not going to go that far. Let's just do for 5. Let's just say 5 years. So 1.02. That's just 2 years. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's here. So 10,000 times 1.04. Okay. 1, 2. So this is the total. And I need to subtract 10,400 minus 10,000. So the interest on 2 years is $400. 25 is really hard to do without a calculator, so I'm just going to help y'all out here. Okay, last one. Isabella is calculating the interest earned on a deposit of $3,000 in an account that earns 4% compound interest after 6 years. Okay, so this is all the math on that. They're telling you the total that she ends up with is $33,795.96. Isabella determines that her deposit will then be worth $6,795. Explain what she did incorrectly. So what she is saying, what she basically did, because remember, this is my total. This is what's going to be in there, including the interest. She treated this like a simple interest problem, and she added 37.95.96 and 3,000. Thinking, well, that'll get me there. That's what it is. That's not right, though, because this was the actual total. This is the total. She added these, treating this like it was the interest, and it's not. So she said that A was the interest when it was the total. Okay, so what's the correct amount of interest? Well, the correct amount of interest equals A minus P. So 37.9596 minus my P, which is right there, of 3,000. And the interest was $795.96. Okay. Don't forget to do the Google form. I hope you have a great weekend. I will see you all on Monday.